Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, translated with commentaries by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It's Canto 5, Chapter 14, Text 8. And this is further enlightenment by Sukadeva Goswami to his disciple, Maharaj Pariksit. And the instructions are very clear about the condition of the living entities who are materially entangled. That's us. So we get the great good fortune of hearing a conversation that took place between a pure devotee of the Lord, fully engaged in devotional service, not identifying even one iota with a desire to enjoy material energy, completely fixed in his relationship with the personality of Godhead through devotional service. To hear from that person as he instructs Maharaj Pariksit, who's very eager to hear how to perfect his life because he knows he has forewarning that he will be passing away in a few days. Very few people know the exact time when you're going to pass away, but Maharaj Pariksit knew he only had a few days. So, this is a continuation of that enlightening discussion, and we get to hear what was said by the mercy of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who's speaking to us, just like Sukadeva Goswami is speaking directly to Maharaj Pariksit. Well, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is speaking to us. The same message. He's recounting this conversation that took place 5,000 years ago for our benefit. He's telling us this conversation. Now he's translating the Bhagavatam and then adding his commentaries. So Sukadeva Goswami is instructing Maharaj Pariksit, and A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is instructing us. So let us hear with the same rapt attention and determination and enthusiasm and greed for Krishna and desperation that Maharaj Pariksit heard from Sukadeva Goswami. Although Maharaj Pariksit knew he only had a few days before he would have to pass away, leave this body, and the rest of us, we don't really know. It could be 20 years from now, it could be 70 years from now for some. Others like myself, it could be any moment. Actually, for all of us, it could be any moment, we don't know. Just because someone hasn't been in the body very long doesn't mean they're going to be able to remain in the body for very long. The material world is full of dangers. So we're all in the same position as Maharaj Pariksit. We could all be forced out anytime, really. So this is text 8. Sometimes the conditioned soul, Jai Shri Prabhupada, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda. Sharvaitik Radhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sometimes the conditioned soul is absorbed in finding residential quarters or apartments, getting a supply of water and riches to maintain his body. Absorbed in acquiring a variety of necessities, he forgets everything and perpetually runs around the forest of material existence. The body has to be maintained. It has to be someplace to rest and to make like a little home. And there has to be water, there has to be food, and these are all like riches, the wealth of how one maintains oneself has these valuable things related to the body. It's like the animals do the same thing. They have a little nest in a tree and they run around all day looking for something to eat and where's water. And, they have their animal communities and their mates and their little offspring. Or they have a hole in the ground and they claim it as theirs. A little snake or a gopher or something lives in a hole in the ground. And they have to run around all day to find things to maintain the body. It is very hard work. All day long we see the birds all day long. They're eating constantly all day long, trying to maintain the body. And also the other animals, the deer, the groundhogs, the squirrels, all the living entities. Everyone works very hard. Why? To maintain the body. Prabhupada's commentary. As originally mentioned, a poor man belonging to the mercantile community goes to the forest to get some cheap goods to bring back to the city to sell at a profit. He's also absorbed in the thought of maintaining body and soul together so that he forgets his original relationship with Krishna and seeks only bodily comforts. Thus, material activities are the conditioned soul's only engagement. Not knowing the aim of life, the materialist perpetually wanders in material existence, struggling to get the necessities of life. Not understanding the aim of life, even though he acquires sufficient necessities, he manufactures artificial necessities and then becomes more and more entangled. He creates a mental situation whereby he needs greater and greater comforts. Materialist does not know the secret of nature's ways. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Prakrite krimanani gunakamani sarvasa ahankara vimudatma kartahamiti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. Due to lusty desire, the living entity creates a certain mental situation whereby he wants to enjoy this material world. He thus becomes entangled, enters different bodies, and suffers in them. So this is the situation. Coming in contact with the material energy, getting a material body of one sort or another, means there's going to have to be a certain amount of endeavor to maintain the body. If you're going to stay in it, it has to be maintained. So everyone is forced to find some way to gather these necessities and maintain the body. For someone who has no idea of the actual aim of life, which is to become disentangled, their endeavors become more and more entangling. And even if they have enough necessities, the condition of the mind has developed in such a way that because they don't know the actual aim and goal of life, they think the aim and goal of life is to acquire things for the comfort of the body. Really, it's for the maintenance of the body. But without knowledge or realization of itself as different from the body, then the body becomes everything. And the expansions of the body, the friends, the family, the country, the state, like this. So then, even if the necessities are there, they have everything they need to maintain, they pushed because of the mentality that's been created that the goal of life is to satisfy the body. So then more and more, even things beyond what's needed, they're not even necessities anymore, artificial necessities. Bigger, better, faster, more. In this way, it's out of control. The consciousness is completely stolen by the material energy. Intelligence is completely bewildered. And as in the Gita verse, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are carried out by nature. That is pretty key. That Krishna is the supreme controller, and there are laws in material energy, material nature, and they are controlled by the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. All one's activities are controlled by these three modes. When one is attached, their mind is like that, contaminated, so that the goal of life is to engage for the satisfaction of the body. Then they come under the jurisdiction of the three modes. How they go about doing that: goodness, passion, or ignorance. How they go about that goal of life for the materialist to satisfy the body is governed by which mode? Goodness. It's not transcendental. Goodness isn't transcendental. Goodness is peaceful and healthy and moral and a lot of good things in the mode of goodness. Cleanliness, self-control. Of all the modes, that's the one that has the least amount of distress and anxiety in it in terms of trying to satisfy materially. But it's not transcendental. And it's not spiritual. And it has its own trappings in that one can be attached to the mode of goodness, which then means you have to take birth again, because it's a material mode. And then the mode of passion, which is very, very prevalent today. Passion and ignorance are the big ones today. You hardly see the mode of goodness at all. Mostly passion and ignorance. It has to be more and more accumulation and more sense gratification and louder and more spicy and more. Just turn it up. Just passion. Just turn it up. Turn the whatever it is, the volume, the vibration of the colors, whatever it is, more, because that's the mode of passion. Accumulate more and more, this drive. And then the mode of ignorance, where craziness, madness, intoxicants, drugs, illusion, in this way, somehow trying to satisfy the senses in the mode of ignorance. But in any of these cases, it's the modes of material nature that are carrying out the activities. The person thinks that they're doing it, but actually they're being swept away by the modes of material nature. The only thing the living entity is doing is desiring. That's all the living entity does, is desire. And then that desire gives the direction toward how to fulfill that desire, and that everything is supplied by the material nature. So that's why desiring Krishna consciousness, desiring to reestablish a relationship with the Supreme Lord, is how to get free from the cycle of birth and death. It's a matter of desire. And then in relationship to Krishna, there's different levels of desire. So nothing's like just black and white. It's a spectrum. Variety. Everything is variegated. Material world is variegated. Spiritual world is variegated. And Krishna's energies are unlimited. But once one comes in contact with the devotional energy, then they can get some relief from identifying with the material energy. And their lives don't have to be simply dictated to by the modes of material nature, because the desire changes. The desire isn't to engage in the material on the material platform. Although the activities are there for maintaining the body, it's with a spirit of detachment, because the heart and the desire of the heart is to identify with spirit, identify as a servant of the Lord. Krishna is pleased by that desire, and he helps, sends his representatives, and he himself within the heart starts to make his presence known. Krishna is giving direction all the time within the heart of everyone, but like those two birds in the tree, the one bird, the jiva soul, is very busy trying to enjoy in that tree the fruits that are there. It's frantically trying to enjoy those fruits. And the other bird, the super soul, Paramatma, is sitting there. He's like, what useless endeavor this jiva is going through. If he turns to me, he can really get something. But he's very busy. He's always trying to give good instruction to the jiva. But the jiva is very busy and distracted. He doesn't even acknowledge the other bird. The other bird might as well not even exist. The other bird isn't exactly a bird either. It's the source of everything. So, text 9. Sometimes, as if blinded by the dust of a whirlwind, the conditioned soul sees the beauty of the opposite sex, which is called pramada. Being thus bewildered, he's raised upon the lap of a woman, and at that time, his good senses are overcome by the force of passion. He thus becomes almost blind with lusty desire, disobeys the rules and regulations governing sex life. He does not know that this disobedience is witnessed by different demigods, and he enjoys illicit sex in the dead of night, not seeing future punishment awaiting him. Talk about bewildering. That's the bewildering potency of Maya. And the big one is the sex desire. That's the big one. And the world of advertising knows that. If they want to get people to buy things, they just have to put that little spice in their advertisement. Just, they want to sell toothpaste, and they have a sexy girl smiling with big white teeth, and maybe a man looking at her or giving her a hug or something, just to sell the toothpaste. Or the car, or whatever it is they're selling. They know this is the one, this is the attraction that really, really is the strongest and bewilders the living entity so much. That's why there's rules that govern sex life. Krishna is so kind, he doesn't say no sex life. No, but there's rules to help regulate. Just like it's not that there's no eating. No, there's a way, different foods that can be offered and prepared very nicely, and they should be taken as the mercy of the Lord, prasadam, offered to Krishna, take the remnants, and like that. It's not that these things can just be stopped. I mean, you have human bodies, you have material bodies, they're part of life, but they should be regulated so that the living entity doesn't forget the actual aim of life, the actual goal of life. So this is the materialist. He doesn't know even that he's being observed in the dead of night, having these activities. He doesn't even know that it doesn't matter if it's dead of night, that the demigods are aware of his uncontrolled passions. They're aware of his, and there has to be some corrective. There'll be some corrective measure, some sort of what would seem like punishment. Because human life especially is meant for responsibility. It's a life of responsibility, human life, which means integrity and raising oneself up, raising one's consciousness up. The animals are totally controlled by the material energy, totally 100%. There's no question of them stopping for a moment and considering, is this the right thing to do or is that the wrong thing to do? They don't have that. They're totally they're in a sense, they're innocent because of that. If they kill for food or to protect themselves. If they have sex, it's to produce offspring. And they're totally under the laws of material nature. A human being, they have freedom in the sense of to choose the right thing to do for elevation to the spiritual platform, or to not do the right thing and act like the animals do, and then they have to come under the control of the material energy again. They may lose that human form and just slide back down into animal life where they're totally controlled. So we either take voluntary regulation of the senses, which allows for the possibility of full realization as a spirit soul, accept those voluntary controls of the senses and the mind, or disregard that responsibility to do that and simply engage for sense gratification. And then the result of that is gliding back down into the lower species, because they have to be controlled either voluntarily learn how to control by surrendering to Krishna, or slide back down. It's just the way it is. Prabhupada's commentary. In Bhagavad Gita it said, sex is allowed only for the begetting of children, not for enjoyment. Well, there's enjoyment there in begetting children, so just like in eating, there's satisfaction in eating. What I'm saying here is it's not for recreation. It's not a sport. It's not a hobby or a sport. It's a function that's there for begetting children. And if you say that to people in this day and age, they look at you like you're crazy. What? Sex is for having children? Doesn't make sense to them. And it's further complicated by the madness of these scientists that produce children in artificial insemination, in test tubes, in petri dishes, and tampering with the the genetic makeup, and crossing a spider with a chipmunk. It's totally awful, totally out there. I mean, it's just totally bizarre. So if you say sex is allowed for begetting children, not for sport or recreation, they look at you like, well, there's so many different ways to beget children. Really don't even, I mean, sex, when we have all these contraceptions, contraceptives to help us in our sport, how will they ever understand they're not their body, being led around by the senses? And we just read in the verse that it's so bewildering. What were the words? He loses all good sense and completely overcome by passion, becomes blind with lusty desire, and disobeys any rules or regulations. Throw it to the wind. So, otherwise, one can indulge in sex to beget a good child for the benefit of the family, society, and the world. Otherwise, sex is against the rules and regulations of religious life. That's not going to be well received by a lot of people in this day and age. But that's the truth. Just like eating is for nourishment of the body. Eating is not a pastime, except for Lord Chaitanya. But for the conditioned souls, eating is not a pastime. It is for taking remnants of spiritual foodstuff offered to the Lord, for nourishment, and for getting purified, making spiritual advancement, honoring prasadam. So similarly, sex is allowed for begetting of children, nice families. It helps everyone. It's good for society and the world, good children. So a materialistic person does not believe that everything is managed in nature. He does not know that if one does something wrong, he is witnessed by different demigods. In other words, there's reactions for actions. There are reactions. Just like in physical science, mechanical science, if there's a fire and you put your hand in it, it gets burnt. It's hot. You throw the ball up in the air, it comes back down. They call it the law of gravity. The material laws, material sciences. And those sciences have been developed in such a way. You have electricity, you have internet, computer, airplanes, all these things. Why? Because there are rules in material nature that things behave a certain way. When this, then that. When there's this condition, then that is the result. And they've been able to build bridges and highways and like this. So there are also behavioral rules that when one does such and such a thing, one has unrestricted illicit sexual behavior, there's a reaction. When that, then this. There is a reaction because there are laws in material nature. And when they're transgressed, or when they're honored or not honored or whatever, the result is going to be there from the way one either obeys and is in tune with the natural laws, or is defiant and disregards. There'll be a different result. So this is for the materialist. We're talking about karma, reactions. So he doesn't even believe that there are these laws. He just thinks he's the doer and he can just do whatever he wants to do. And that's a criminal. That's like a criminal. The person with a criminal mentality in society wants something, he just takes it. Doesn't matter who it belongs to. See something he wants, you break into the house and just take it. The big screen TV, break in the house and take it. He's the doer. Until he's caught. Because there are laws against that. There are rules. And so similarly, these other activities like this illicit sex, there are laws. And there will be a price to pay for transgressing them. It's just the way the material nature is. It's the material nature, the nature of material nature, the nature of material energy. This illicit sex is thoroughly observed by the agents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the person is punished in so many ways. Presently in Kali Yuga, there are many pregnancies due to illicit sex, and sometimes abortions ensue. These sinful activities are witnessed by the agents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and a man and woman who create such a situation are punished in the future by the stringent laws of material nature. Daiviyesha Gunamayi Amamaya Duratyaya. Illicit sex is never excused, and those who indulge in it are punished life after life. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Asuram yonim apana muda janmani janmani mam aprapyaiva kaunteya tato yantya damam gatim. Attaining repeated birth among the species of demonic life, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. And this is pretty heavy stuff here. I mean, Prabhupada is being very, very straightforward. Spiritual master is very tolerant, and this disciple may be struggling. That's another thing. If someone is struggling, that's another thing. Spiritual master is very tolerant, will try to help, make some arrangement for the disciple, like this. But ultimately, it comes down to this, that there are stringent laws. It has to be accepted. We always have to be going in the direction of purity. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It says, oh, I want to go to Krishna, but I'm indulging like this in material sense gratification. unrestrictedly. What's that? It's not going to go anywhere. Well, it will go somewhere. It says here, gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. So it's not a good idea. Supreme Personality of Godhead does not allow anyone to act against the stringent laws of material nature. Therefore, illicit sex is punished life after life. Illicit sex creates pregnancies, and these unwanted pregnancies lead to abortion. Those involved become implicated in these sins, so much so that they're punished in the same way the next life. Thus, in the next life, they also enter the womb of a mother and are killed in the same way. All these things can be avoided by remaining on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness. In this way, one does not commit sinful activity. Illicit sex is the most prominent sin due to lusty desire. When one associates with the mode of passion, he's implicated in suffering life after life. So, you don't want to dwell on it. Dwelling on this. It's not insurmountable. It's not unavoidable. It's just not to allow oneself to become victimized by taking shelter nicely of the pure devotees and the spiritual master and engaging in devotional service. Then the mode of passion backs off, because if you're in touch with the divine energy, the devotional energy, then the modes of material nature have no jurisdiction. The modes of material nature are active when one wants material sense gratification. It's like a little switch. Ahankara, Omkara. Omkara, I am this body, and I want to engage in material sense gratification. And you flick the switch. Ahankara. No, I'm spirit. I'm not this body. I want to go home, back to Godhead, serve Krishna. Krishna's in my heart. The spiritual master is guiding me through his books and through his sincere followers. I don't have to be victimized by the material energy. The material energy backs off. Modes of material nature have no jurisdiction. It's like Ajamil at the time of death. How powerful the holy names of the Lord really are. In that he named his small child Narayan, the name of Lord Krishna. And at the time of death, he was in distress and anxiety. The Yamadutas were coming. They're very fearful looking, to drag him out of the body toward the court of Yamaraj, where he would be judged. And not a good idea for Ajamil, because he didn't live a very responsible life. He was one of these people who engaged in illicit sex unrestrictedly, even into really old age. And so he was being dragged away to receive his punishments. But his little son was playing nearby his deathbed, and he called out, Narayan. The Yamadutas could not take him because he engaged in devotional service. That is devotional service. Calling out for the Lord, chanting his names, is devotional service. So when he did that, he contacted the divine energy of the Lord. Narayan. Narayan. Now the Lord is within the heart. So the Lord was in Ajamil's heart. He heard that. And so the Vishnu Dutas came, and they stopped the Yamadutas and said, wait a minute, you can't take this one. And the Yamadutas said, what do you mean? He's like so sinful, man. He's got a record a mile long. He's going to get punished all over the place. the Vishnu Duta says, no. He just engaged in devotional service. He called out the name of the Lord. That's devotional service. Hearing and chanting is devotional service. He chanted. Narayan. The Yamadutas were bewildered. They'd never come across this before. Someone so sinful as Ajamil. I mean, they'd been watching him because as the demigods, it's all watched and witnessed, all the activities. All his activities had been totally witnessed, and he was totally ready for some severe punishments, lower births and the whole thing. But he contacted that divine energy, that devotional energy. He engaged in devotional service without even knowing it. He was just calling out to his son. But he called out. He had named his son after the Lord, and he called out the name of the Lord. All right. So he didn't go back home, back to Godhead right away, pure devotee, because he wasn't qualified. He needed. So what it did was it gave him some time. After that incident, when he saw this take place between the Yamadutas and the Vishnu Dutas, he became enlightened. He didn't pass away at that time, evidently. And he managed to go to a holy place and prepare himself, become purified, for actually leaving the body nicely. He became purified, returned back to the spiritual sky. It gave him a reprieve. And from then on, he took up his devotional life. He became purified, and he went home. But these sinful activities, they're witnessed, they're noticed, they don't go unnoticed. So, what can be done? There's punishment, there's reaction. So, that's a deterrent. It should be a deterrent, knowing that there's this reaction. But that's not enough. You have to know the other side, the flip side. It's because this isn't just a moral issue. It's not just morality. It's a transcendental issue about actually going home, back to Godhead. It's not just a matter of, on a mechanical level, getting reward and then getting a punishment. This is good, that's bad. Materially, it's all bad. Even good is bad, materially. The only thing that's really good is getting off the material platform altogether and engaging in devotional activities, making that connection with the devotional energy, the divine energy of the Lord. And then from within, the Lord can give good guidance. But until that happens, there have to be some rules to control, so the senses are not allowed to run wild, because then one comes under the illusion of being the doer. And they're just crazy. They're not the doer. Everything's being witnessed by the higher authorities and being held accountable for their activities. So the rules and regulations are there to keep the senses in check so that one can access the Lord within the heart. It's very scientific. Devotional life is very scientific, and it's absolute at every stage. It's so wonderful. It's a completely different energy from the material energy, devotional energy. Completely different. It's Krishna's divine energy. It's his eternal energy. And it's not without form and activities and pastimes. That's what makes it different from simply liberation or simply non-engagement in material activity. All right, non-engagement in material activity. Then what do? I'm not engaging in anything material. Well, what do? Just sit there? The divine energy is variegated, and there are pastimes and activities in that divine energy, that devotional energy. It's eternal. And we are coming in contact with that divine energy through his divine grace. Text 10. The conditioned soul sometimes personally appreciates the futility of sense enjoyment in the material world. And he sometimes considers material enjoyment to be full of miseries. However, due to his strong bodily conception, his memory is destroyed, and again he runs after material enjoyment, just as an animal runs after a mirage in the desert. Yes, that's the problem, because this isn't just a mental understanding. See, it says here, sometimes he actually appreciates the futility of sense enjoyment. He even considers enjoyment to be full of miseries. So he's aware of that, the futility of it. But because of the strong identification with the body, when he's in that situation again, like throw the bone in front of the dog, his memory is destroyed, and again he runs after material enjoyment. It's like throw the bone and the dog jumps after the bone. Yeah, just as an animal runs after a mirage in a desert. So even he has some awareness because he has no alternative. He has nothing else to pursue to try and become happy because he is still identifying with the material body. He's still trying to become happy on the material plane because he's identifying himself with the material body. Even though he knows it's futile. And every time he's run after something, it's always been useless. It's like he thought if he had that new car, it would be so great. He got the new car. He worked hard like a dog to get the new car. And then after, a little while, it's like, so I get big new car bills to pay, new car insurance. Or if I just had that whatever it is, that house. Oh, if I just had that, he kills himself working to get the house. And he's got the house, and what does he have? He has roof repairs, he's got a mortgage, he's got grass to cut, he's got this, that, the other thing. So in one sense, it looks like it's going to be so great, but then when you actually get there, it's still just material. And then there's some new desire, but identifying the body as the self, you have to run after the new desire. And people do that with relationships. Married to someone and they attracted to them. I thought, oh, this person, if I could just, live and be with this person, make a life with this person, is so wonderful. And they're married for a little while, and then they decide they actually don't even really like each other. Or one of them sees someone else they like better, and they go running after that one. And then when they get that one that they're running after, and then the same thing, it wasn't that great either. And then they run after somebody else, and then that's not so great either. And they start to see the futility of it, but they'll keep doing it anyway. 3, 4, 5 times married, or in relationship like that, and still not satisfied. They see the futility of it, but they have to keep doing it because of the bodily conception. What else can they do to try to be happy if they think that they're their body? person thinks that they're their body. Prabhupada's commentary: the main disease in material life is bodily conception. Being baffled again and again in material activity, the conditioned soul temporarily thinks of the futility of material enjoyment, but he again tries the same thing. By the association of devotees, a person may become convinced of material futility, but he cannot give up his engagement, although he is very eager to return home back to Godhead. Under these circumstances, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart, compassionately takes away all the material possessions of such a devotee. Well, Prabhupada's just speaking the truth here, although it may not be so attractive to someone just coming into the association of devotees. Krishna. Because you're attached to material things and you can't give it up, Krishna's going to take them all away. Ooh. But Prabhupada is just speaking. This is actually the truth. No? It's not that he necessarily will, but if it will help the devotee, he will. If it's a real problem for the devotee, all these material attachments, Krishna will help them like that. And for someone who moves into the ashram, like a lot of young people move right into the temple and the ashram, and they just give up everything else, whatever they were studying or whatever kind of work they were trying to do, and they just take up student life, where they're just 100% engaged as either brahmachari or call it brahmacharini, and they just 24 hours a day engaged in the devotional activities. That's a great relief because they have no material possessions. Although the desires may remain inside, by engaging in devotional service, then they get purified and they're not acting on those desires. They're cultivating a desire for devotional service to Krishna. So, and they're studying and chanting and helping to serve the Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, helping to maintain temples, helping in the preaching effort, engaging like that. So that's a huge relief from all this material acquisition. That's a very fortunate position to be in if someone can do that. A lot of these younger people are actually able to do that. They maybe haven't accumulated so much yet. So, but those that have been accumulating for a while, this might be a little more difficult because they work so hard for all the stuff and they're attached to it. So Krishna will help them, and he may, out of his compassion, take it away. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna says he takes everything away from the devotee whom he especially favors, when that devotee is overly attached to material possessions. So that's the key word here is overly attached. In other words, if it is a problem for the devotee, is overly attached and stealing all his attention and stealing all his energy in trying to maintain and acquire, because he has this mentality, he's overly attached to possessions. And Krishna mercifully will help relieve that so that they use that energy and that effort to cultivate consciousness of Krishna and not have it stolen by material entanglement. When everything is taken away, the devotee feels helpless and frustrated in society, friendship, and love. Yeah, when a person loses all their possessions, tends to lose his quote-unquote friends too, and his position in society, and he's not all that attractive anymore. because that opulence, material opulence, is gone now. So he's not so attractive to others. So feeling frustrated and helpless, it's a good position to be in to take shelter of Krishna, rather than being bewildered and thinking, I'm so opulent, so rich, and so successful. And who needs Krishna? Now, helpless, feeling unloved, no position, frustrated. Oh, Krishna, what a fool I am. Those things were all temporary. It was an illusion. If they were actually mine, they couldn't be taken away. So they must not have been mine to begin with, really. He feels that his family does not care for him any longer, and he therefore completely surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Yeah. What is it? There was a phrase Prabhupada liked. It's, some Western philosopher spoke it. I don't know which one, but Prabhupada liked it. Failure is the pillar of success. Yeah. We learn from our failures. We do. Eventually. Some of us are quicker learners than others. Some people have to fail and fail and fail, and even at the same thing over and over and over and over again before the lesson that was there can be realized. And some people, they might have a failure and learn right away from it. So for a person like this, they become a material failure. And then they have a chance to learn what a fool they were for thinking there was any such thing as material success to begin with. They're in a good position because material success or material failure, it's all the same. It's just material. It has no permanence. There's no real happiness. And it's an illusion because we're not material, we're spiritual. So such a person experiencing that kind of that kind of failure, first they experience the success, and then they experience the failure. And then, by the good association of devotees, they can understand they were both just material. The success part was material, and it was an illusion. And the failure part is also material, and it is also an illusion. There is no success or failure. There's only material entanglement, other than Krishna consciousness. So that's a great blessing for that devotee, if they can take that lesson. And Krishna will give that out of compassion, will put the devotee in that situation, the success and failure, and allow them, that devotee, the opportunity to get onto the transcendental platform to both success and failure, and thereby not be overly attached to success. This is a special favor granted by the Lord to a devotee who cannot fully surrender to the Lord due to a strong bodily conception. As explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Lord understands the devotee who hesitates to engage in the Lord's service, not knowing whether he should try again to revive his material life. After repeated attempts and failures, he fully surrenders to the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord then gives him directions, and attaining happiness, he forgets all material engagement. So the Lord then gives him directions. How's the Lord doing that? He's doing that from within the heart. It says, after repeated attempts and failures. Wow. Talk about determined to try to enjoy the material energy. It's like banging your head against the wall over and over again until it dawns on you that Geez, banging the head against the wall doesn't work. So by experiencing the attempts and then the failures, that's for a devotee. That's not materialist. That's for a devotee who's actually come in contact with devotional service, but can't quite give up the desire to become really good at something materially successful. Can't quite give that up. That idea that, yeah, there's something there in the material world. There is. I know there's Krishna. I know there's devotees, but so Krishna helps. He experiences all those attempts and then all those failures, and finally, all right, that's it. I'm going to Krishna. I've had it. I'm done. I understand now. I have the realization. And that could happen with that is actually what happens, at least for some of us. I know that's what happens with me, is that there's something that I can't give up, either a bad habit or a way of thinking, or, well, it's usually a way of thinking. It all comes from the mind, but these desires are all situated there. And I'm stuck with it. And no matter what I do, I'm stuck with it, even though I know there's Krishna and I want to make progress on this path of devotional service. And I'm stuck with this thing. It's an attachment. I'm not sure how I got it. I don't want it. I don't need it, but I'm stuck with it. And so I may act on it a number of times until it becomes obvious what is the result that comes from acting on whatever it is, the bad habit or the bad way of thinking or the desire for a certain thing, whatever, and acting on it and then seeing what the result is, experiencing the result. And if it's not in Krishna consciousness, the result is not satisfying, and it may be disturbing. It may be distasteful, the result. If it's not in Krishna consciousness, ultimately it will be distasteful because it's temporary. Even if it seems good at first, it won't be eventually because it's material, it's illusory, it has no permanence. So that may have to experience that, acting on that, whatever it is, several times, and experiencing the result, which Prabhupada calls here the failures, until the lesson is learned and can say, okay, I know what this is. I know when I act in this way, pursuing something material, a specific thing. We're talking about something specific. This is like talking generally, material things, but talking now about a specific material desire. I know that when I try to act on this specific material desire, and I have tried to enjoy the result of this specific material desire, whatever it is, there's lots of them, unlimited really. I know what the result of this particular one is because I've tried to pursue it a number of times, and I see what happens every time. The same thing. So when I act on this material desire, I get this result, and I don't want it. So the next time I'm faced with the opportunity to act on this particular material desire, I know where it goes. I've experienced it. I don't have to act on it. It's like, there's a knock on the door and they want to sell you something. You say, no, thanks. I don't need that. I'm not buying it. No, I don't want to buy that. Thank you. Good luck. Goodbye. It's like the mind and the senses want to sell the soul on these things. They're like salesmen. They make it look really good, and then if the soul buys it, Yeah, okay, yeah, let's go. I'll buy that. I'll buy that. I'll put my energy there. And then they see what it is, like, oh, what did I buy this for? Ah, I'll never buy that again. And then they might forget. And then the salesman is there selling the same thing, engaged like this materially, and then you might buy it again. Well, maybe the first time I bought it was, I don't know, I'll try it again. Okay, I'll buy it. I'll put my energy there. And the same thing happens. Oh, it's terrible. I don't want that. So that has to happen a number of times. And then the next time the salesman comes. Okay, let's get it. No thanks. Not interested. No, I'm not buying it. I already bought that so many times in the past. I don't want it. No, I don't need it. Bye. I'm not buying it. So then they can use their energy. You don't have to get cheated like that. And use consciousness and your life energy for Krishna. You don't have to buy material advertising. Enjoy. No. No, I'm not buying it. I'm buying Krishna. I'm investing in Krishna. I'm investing in the divine energy, the spiritual energy. Sorry, don't have any energy for that. I'm busy. Whatever it is. Material. Hare Krishna.